Well, folks, it doesn't get more convincing than a 10-wicket victory, something India have never suffered in the history of their T20 international cricket, and that is something of a statement that Pakistan have made at the very start of this particular event. It's a commanding victory, and when it comes in a big pressure cooker match, it just gives even more credit. Set up much earlier by Shaheen Shah Afridi with those couple of wickets early on, and even the repair job done by Virat Kohli and Rishabh Pant just didn't seem enough. Yes, we tried to play it up with runs on the board, but the manner in which the two played just took the match away from India very, very quickly. 152 for no loss with 13 balls to spare. Here we are to assess this match and Sri Lanka versus Bangladesh earlier in the afternoon on Cricbuzz Live in the company of Zaheer Khan and Dinesh Karthik. DK, I'm going to come to you first. Very often, winning runs tend to sum up a game. You know, we've had matches finished with a big, flourishing six. But the fact that this finished with a 2 to mid-wicket, I think, is significant because that was what Pakistan did so well. It was not about fours and sixes, but about finding those twos when it really mattered.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting you say that. Definitely, hats off to them. I think they played some solid cricket today. Right from the outset, I thought Shaheen Shah really set the tone for them, and they never looked back after that. Credit to the openers. They've been batting well for some time now. It's just that everything India tried today. You got to give credit to a batting unit when they've not even given you one chance through the 18 overs that they've batted and got to a score without the loss of a wicket. It doesn't happen too often. In many ways, they've had their best game in a long, long, long time, and it's come against an opposition which, has haunted them for a while now. You can say what you want about the Indian team, but for the moment, I think a lot of credit should go to Pakistan, the way they bowled, the way they fielded, and most importantly, the way they batted as well. Those singles, twos, they kept rotating strike, didn't give any dot balls. They didn't do anything silly. They assessed the conditions and, went on with the game like a thorough professional outfit.
Zaheer, you mentioned it on Cricbuzz Combox, but it's worth reiterating it now. That little punchy kind of whip by Rizwan and getting two every time, be it off the spinners or as we saw the winning runs, that kind of was the difference in a sense of their approach.
Very calculated approach, and that's something which you're not associating this team with. So I think Pakistan team will be very happy with this kind of a win. It was certainly a comprehensive win over a really, really tough opposition, which DK rightly put it has haunted them for quite some time now, especially in ICC tournaments. So yeah, I think it's definitely going to be a big morale booster for them. For Indian team, I think while you're seeing it on TV, the due factor did play a role, but having said that, you got to put runs on board. When you know that you can be a factor, you got to have that extra cushion of 20-25 runs, just to stay on top of things. But today wasn't the case. So I think right throughout the game, you saw Pakistan in control of the game. They showed the intent, and India sort of was always trying to catch up in this particular game, which was very evident. So I think with regard to the World Cup, it's going to be interesting now to see because this pool actually is going to be an interesting one. You have a couple of games which are very, very important. So this game was very important from that point of view for the Indian team, and another tough opposition is going to be New Zealand. So they got to be going back to the drawing board as soon as possible. Figuring things out. Figuring out a proper plan because batting has been India's strength, and I think today Pakistan bowlers got inroads into that, and then it was very difficult for them to get out of it.
Well, India have a week to think about that, but just finishing off on Pakistan, DK, any team celebrates a victory. But A, when it comes against this opposition, and B, as Zaheer briefly touched on, when it comes in a manner that you're not used to winning. Calm and calculated, with all due respect to Pakistan, are not necessarily ways they always win cricket matches. I think that will be the most satisfying from their point of view.
Yes, I think just the way they played, as you said, it starts from the captain. He was pretty calm. The way he batted, he didn't change his approach. He didn't do anything different to what he's used to doing. I think all of Pakistan will be celebrating. Karachi, Lahore, all of them will be up and running, and they'll be a very, very happy country today, and rightfully so. I think in many ways, as much as you keep giving credit to Pakistan, I think it's a huge monkey of India's back as well. For some time now, we're talking about at least 2 to 3 decades that we've had this constant pressure. Every time India plays Pakistan in a World Cup, we haven't lost to them, we haven't beaten them, Now that this has happened, I think that this record is done with, and we can move further in this tournament, which is very, very interestingly poised, because a very interesting group this. You're not going to have too many surprises from definitely two of the teams that are playing. So among the other two teams that you're going to be playing, New Zealand, Afghanistan, you have to do well on those days.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, everything became lopsided. Bangladesh were expected to come to this group. They've gone and joined Sri Lanka in the other group. So you've got two associate nations here. Not that you don't want to take any team lightly, but coming to the bowlers, Zaheer, obviously in the last 3 or 4 overs, you could see. I mean, it really, as you mentioned in Gwalior, your own experience a few years ago, it was like dipping a ball in a bucket of water and it comes out. But before that, could India have done anything differently?
Well, we did touch upon it in the mid innings break, and the fact was that okay, you have your plans, you have your strategies cut out before the game, but once you are in the game, you just got to go with the game and try and figure out, maybe change certain things what you had planned, maybe use Bumrah differently. So I think by the time game finished, you have underutilized Bumrah in today's total when you're defending, when you know that you're not getting the wickets. Maybe they could have gone for their trump card right up front rather than getting him into the game in the third over. Maybe started with him, might have turned things around a bit. But I mean, these are all things on the hindsight. You at times stick to the strategy which you made, or at times it's just the personality of the skipper as well, and the feel of the game as well. I'm sure the think tank in the innings break would have thought about it and chose otherwise. But who would have expected that the two openers are going to just carry the innings through? How many times?
Gautam, two shots stand out for me. One was Bumrah's bowling his second over, and he bowled a slow one, which Babar Rizwan completely missed, but just went through with the shot and went over mid-off. That was one. And another telltale sign was Mohammad Rizwan of Varun Chakravarti. It bounced a little more than he expected. He still went through with the shot. If he had played it in the first innings, I can promise you it would have been caught at deep mid wicket, because there's enough bounce. There wasn't enough speed of the wicket. Whereas that's the difference between having dew and not having dew. In this one, the ball just came slightly quicker than it should, and he connected it just across the boundary, a 69-meter six with a 65-meter boundary. So 4 meters made the difference between a six and a wicket. But that's the beauty of dew. A lot of the times these small things as a batter makes it slightly easier for you and slightly tougher for you as a bowler. Not slightly, in fact, very tougher for you as a bowler. But that's what you prepare for. Dew is not something that is, you're going to live with it. It's going to, every day and night game you play, especially in the summer, because of the drop in temperature between the morning and evening, there's always going to be dew unless and until it's a cloudy day. But, those kind of days, are far and few in between. But the most important thing is we got to deal with dew. We got to prepare to lose the toss and bowl again. But for that, obviously, we need to bat a little better and score a little more.
Yeah, in the desert, if you want clouds, you've got to create it yourself. Every time I look out of the window, blue skies, the nights will have dew, and they actually do have cloud seeding in this part of the world, but it's not going to happen for the moment. But I'll just stay with you, DK, for a second, because Zaheer he did say hindsight, but I remember even before the first ball was bowled, he had already said, I really want Jasprit Bumrah to bowl the first over. So, sometimes it's not just about hindsight. It's about a certain strategy. Doesn't always come off. Dew goes against you, but as you said, credit to the Pakistan openers.
When Zach says that Bumrah should bowl the first over, I think it's coming from experience of being in the Mumbai Indians dressing room in many ways, because he's dealt with the Bumrah, he's seen the bowling attack, he's seen how they plan through the tournament last year. More often than not, Bumrah used to bowl overs 4 and 6, or sometimes only 1 over in the power play, more at the death. But when it came to the crunch game in the final, he bowled the first over and I think he got Shikhar Dhawan out first over, and then he again got another batsman, Shreyas Iyer, out with covers in his second over, and that pretty much sealed the game. From there, they're only able to get 140, 145, whatever they got, and Mumbai went on to win the tournament. So it's coming from experience, where he knows a character like Bumrah would want to do something special. And I believe that Virat should have somehow found a way to give him the first over. Maybe it's a gamble, it's okay, but if he does come good and gets a wicket, that's the way you start. You saw what happened with India. We were speaking about the batting, how good it is. Suddenly 2 wickets in the first 2 overs, and you feel like Indian batting is vulnerable. You feel like Hardik is round the corner. He could come anytime within the first 6 to 8 overs, and the whole dynamic of the batting order changes.
Yeah, and we also mentioned the record, Zaheer. We don't want to harp too much on it, but last 15 T20 internationals before tonight, India had not taken more than 1 wicket per game in the power play. And as that, I think going forward, one of the discussions will have to be that.
They'll have to better that. There is no doubt about it. I think, as a bowling unit, when you take those early couple of wickets, it's a completely different ball game. And that as a bowling unit has to be a goal for just generally playing this format, generally playing any format for that matter. But I think especially in this tournament, if they have taken the notice of this, as a bowling unit, you can just have a goal of saying, okay, fine, we can be 45 or 40, 48 runs or 50 runs for that matter. But our goal is to take wickets. Can you create those kind of situations? Can you create that opportunity of picking wickets? Can you be aggressive in your mindset through that? And just that shift in mindset will help you achieve that. So when you're chasing the 2 number, you often better that. So you might have 3 wickets, but it has to be set as a goal. At times you get caught up with the format that the runs per over is given more importance. But if you stay on top of things and you understand how the game flows, it's at end of the day just about bowlers should be thinking of taking wickets, and the batters should be thinking of the situations and then scoring runs. So it's like when you are in good form, and Dinesh will vouch for that. As a batter, you just see gaps and you think of scoring runs. But when you are shaky and you are not under confidence, then those are the days where you're thinking negative, or you're thinking about things which you shouldn't be thinking. That, oh, am I going to edge this? Is my feet moving or not moving? So you just kind of not staying with the game and overthinking things. So I think that one aspect, there was a phase when Indian team was doing consistently well, taking those 2 wickets in the first 10 overs in ODIs and picking these 2 wickets in the power play of T20 games and setting that tone. That has been missing for a while now.
Just to finish off on India, I want a quick report card from DK on someone he knows well. You could see how cautious they were against Varun Chakravarti. Just your assessment of him in this first big World Cup outing.
I think he bowls his best under pressure. I think the first over when he came on in the power play was the most pressure-filled over, and he dealt with it really well. The second and third overs were not bad. He bowled well, but he was 3 overs 17. It wasn't pressure-filled overs. I think he is at his best when they're able. The previous over has gone for 2 or 3 runs, and then that over when you know that they're going to take him on, that's when he's at his best. That's something the Indian team should be should actually be very aware about, rather, because he is at his best when somebody is bowled an over or a couple of overs where they've got 8 and 10 runs and they're looking to go for the big shot. That's when he gets that wicket, and that's the best way to utilize him. When he did come on in the last over, I pretty much knew that he was going to go for runs because of the situation of the game. The previous over, Jadeja had gone for a few runs. I think it was a 10-run over. Before that, it was an 8-run over. They had nothing to lose at that stage. It was okay getting out to a Varun. So then, the confidence as a batter is very different. Whereas if it had been a 2-run over and a 4-run over before that, then there was a great chance the way Varun bowls. It's a massive risk to try and hit him for a 6 at that stage. But when you're thinking it's okay if I get out, then that's a completely different mindset for a batter. That's something that they should be very aware about.
Lessons to take. Zaheer, you were unequivocal that if there was a choice in man of the match, it has to go to Shaheen Shah Afridi, and it has in fact gone to the bowler, the man who set up the game, no matter how well Babar Azam and Mohammad Rizwan batted. Just give us a little assessment of Shaheen Shah Afridi. It just was about his impact early on.
Well, he made the most of what he has, which is pace through the air, and he extracted that swing by bowling a touch fuller, or maybe the test match length, not sticking to the format length which we often speak about, isn't it? Like we often speak that in T20 format, you bowl about that 6 to 8 meters, but if you look at his length, it might be half a meter or 1 meter fuller than that, and which basically he was brave enough to take that risk. He approached the game with that mindset, got rewarded for that. Two big wickets set the tone for them, and from there, Pakistan team actually didn't look back in this particular game, because the body language and the intensity just kept on improving as they went along in the game.
Interesting, DK, he had said in an interview earlier that he wanted to emulate Mohammad Amir and pick up the big wickets of Rohit, Rahul, and Virat Kohli. Not just one, he ended up getting all three.
I mean, I think he's Mohammad Amir is a great bowler, and this guy is slightly quicker as well. He's taller, he has more bounce, but the beauty of him was, I think, in his mind, he's a very attacking bowler. I think his plan, I don't know if the team plan was that, but irrespective of the team plan, I think he plans to get wickets up front. And if there is swing, he bowled full. The first ball that Rohit received, not many in the world can not get out to that. It was an unplayable ball. And even the second ball, the amount of backspin he had in that ball at 145 to hit the length, to beat KL Rahul at sheer pace, it takes a lot of effort, and that shows his skill levels. No, I mean, you can understand why he's one of the best bowlers in the world, because he's able to bowl balls like that. All three formats, his record is phenomenal, and that just doesn't come around by being ordinary. Obviously, he's got some special skills. It's very, in many ways, players like him, if you come to IPL, it's been great to see how he is, but it was just great to see him go through with his skills, trust his skills, the best of batters in the world, in the best of form, but still trust his skill and bowl fuller, not be worried about getting hit for boundaries, but look for wickets. The best form of defense is looking to take wickets, and that gives you the best chance of pulling the score down, and he did that beautifully.
Yeah, nobody knows that better than Zaheer Khan. But we will flip the roles right now. Zaheer, in terms of Babar Azam, I mean, it was Rizwan who had the early attack on, but somebody had to stay at one end and steer the chase. And while he, of course, upped the ante later, he really controlled the entire innings.
I think he was not rushed. He was calm and composed, and those shots initially, which he played on the back foot, was just showing that what kind of form he is in, or what kind of mindset he is in. So yes, he's been consistently getting runs. He's number two batter in the world in this format. There is a reason for that. The consistency has been phenomenal, and then both these batters actually took their time, which was surprising. You at times feel that you got to get a move on. And now you've done well in the fielding, while you're bowling. You've set the tone. You want to finish the game in a jiffy, and you can make those errors, commit those errors, but wasn't the case. So there was a clear cut game plan, and I would say form as well. To back that.
Yeah, while it wasn't an ICC World Cup, but the last time we had Pakistan beating India was in a Champions Trophy, and Fakhar Zaman got 100 there. Today, DK, he had to put the pads on. Not that he'd mind, but he couldn't even walk out to bat. That's how dominant Babar Azam and Rizwan were.
Now, what I like about Babar Azam, I mean, if they had lost the match, we would have put it down to wishful thinking. But he said, we have the potential to beat India. We will beat India tomorrow. For a captain to come out and say that in a high pressure game when their record is completely against them, to believe in their team, say something like that and walk the talk after that when you bat is exemplary. I think, the way he approaches the inning, he is a much better batter when he's chasing than I feel when he's batting first, because he's somebody who's a slow starter. Sometimes, no matter how much runs he gets, I've seen in PSL as well, the opponent have gone on to chase that score down. So probably he's not one of those best batters up front when he's batting first, but when he's batting second, I think the scoreboard pressure dictates the way he plays, and 151 is right up his alley. Take your time, play cricketing shots. Once you get set, take them down, and he did that beautifully. Some of the shots that he did play was of good balls. The six of Jadeja, the boundary of Jadeja as well in the deep mid-wicket area. You need to be a good batter to put so much pressure on the bowler of good balls, and you can see why he's the second ranked batter in the world. He's able to put good balls away once he's set, so that's a very, very laudable effort for him.
Just a final word on Team India. Zaheer, very often when India come to a tournament like this, fans tend to sort of say, look, never mind what happens, beat Pakistan and we're done. We're done and dusted. Now, you started the tournament. Not often do you have India-Pakistan as the opening game of a tournament. You started with a loss. Now everyone's focus is going to be, okay, you didn't do this, you better bring the cup home. No pressure.
Absolutely, absolutely, and hope it comes true, GB. So I think the work is cut out now, and you've seen this team do well under pressure, So that's something which you definitely see, that intensity which you're talking about, that planning. If you go back a couple of years right now, the crucial series doesn't matter. The bilateral series also, you've seen that they've started with a loss and then made a comeback. So that's something which we're hoping for, and this group is actually an interesting group because of the two teams which are qualified here. So you have your work cut out to just make sure that when you're playing against the stronger team, relatively stronger teams, you got to make sure that you win rest of the games, because the two teams are going to go through. So for that, it's very simple, that now from here on in, it's just about winning every game, because you already lost a crucial game to start with.
Yeah, not all doom and despair, DK, but certainly when once when all the dust has settled, you will assess it. Not quite the group of death like the other side, but you've got two associate nations, Afghanistan and of course New Zealand, to play, as this particular points table will show.
Yes, the one incredible attribute that Team India has had over the last 2 years has been their ability to bounce back from adversity. You take any series, the Australia Test series, we lost pretty badly, 36 all out. We came back to win that series. The last series that India played against England as well, at home, England pulped them in the first game, but then again, India came back in the T20, went on to win the series. So they have the skill set, they have the belief, and that's the greatest thing about Team India in the last 1 year or so, where they have the belief to come back from any situation. And I know they will back themselves to do it. A small blip during the journey is completely fine. Like Zach said before, it's sometimes okay to lose the first game. Yes, they did pretty badly to lose this, but it's okay. I think there are 4 games. If the most important game is the New Zealand game, they've been our Achilles heel for some time now in ICC tournaments. So if they find, like how Pakistan was finding India a problem, India has found New Zealand a problem for some time now. So if New Zealand go on to beat Pakistan, which is their next match, it'll be even more interesting, because when India do come up against New Zealand, then that gives them a pretty straightforward chance to even things out.
Yeah, it's an interesting schedule, because it's sort of all the big games get clumped together. India have a week's gap before they play New Zealand, and then right towards the end, they have Scotland and Namibia to sort of finish off with. Whereas the other group, it's 6 test playing nations going head to head. And 2 of them who played earlier today were Sri Lanka and Bangladesh. India Pakistan was almost underway, so we didn't get enough time to talk about it. But 171 for 4. Bangladesh lost the toss. Looked like a very, very decent total indeed. Naim Sheikh at the top. Mushfiqur Rahim, despite the loss of Shakib Al Hasan, helped them to a very decent total. But I think the story of the match there, and I'll come to Dinesh Karthik first, was again the calmness of the run chase. Having lost a wicket early, having seen Shakib Al Hasan pick up a couple quickly, that's when teams start to slide. The calmness of 2 relative newcomers in Rajapaksa and Asalanka will really stand them in good stead.
Asalanka looked really good. I think the shots that he played of the spinners in the power play was stand out. I think one of the reasons why they won was because of the way they batted in the power play. Him and Pathum Nissanka at the start batted really well, but some of the shots that Asalanka played were top notch. He completely took the pressure off his partner. He batted really well, and the beauty of his inning was that he stayed throughout. And we spoke about this in the halfway stage in that game. If he finds a way to stay throughout, they'll win it with an over or 10 balls to spare, and that's exactly what they've done. So that shows his skill set, that shows his mindset. But I'm sure Bangladesh, they batted well, they bowled pretty well, but what they would really rue were the 2 chances of both the batsmen who ended up scoring runs against them. The same person dropped the catch. It happens in a game of cricket, but that's what they'll feel pretty disappointed about.
They certainly will. And I think Sri Lanka have done well, Zaheer. I remember when they were playing against India, Karunaratne was one of them who batted sort of lower down the order. So did Asalanka. He was relatively new to the circuit, but he showed enough promise that I think they've realized now that him up the order with someone like a Hasaranga at 4 and 5 is perhaps the way to go and keep Karunaratne as their finisher.
Well, halfway through that match, you're thinking that Bangladesh is going to have it easy. They started the game well as well when they were defending that total, got that crucial breakthrough of Kushal Pereira, and after that it's just good batting, and two batters making it count, and that has been the story of Sharjah pitch. So for every team it's going to be very important that whoever is in, to make sure that not to lose that wicket, and then just keep batting. That so that is why the drop catches which Bangladesh gave opportunity chances to the Sri Lankan batters has had to pay a very heavy price. For them it was an opportunity after doing all that hard work with the bat. They've just wasted it while defending. I felt that it's Bangladesh who should be blaming themselves to having lost that game, because with the kind of confidence Sri Lanka had, and the way they were going and taking the risk options, the Bangladesh should have been the winner in that game. But Sri Lanka will be very happy. There's no doubt about it. They needed this booster, and the approach which we were talking about, change in the batting order as well. Sri Lanka, we've seen him bat lower the order. Now he's cementing his place in the top order, which is going to be important. Like we've always been looking at Sri Lankan team, they're still figuring out the right combination, and I think this kind of a victory will definitely be a morale booster going forward for them.
Certainly will be. And the reason why we are saying how crucial that was is this other group looks very different from India's group. Because while again, we don't want to cast any aspersions on any nations, but associate nation is associate nation. Here you've got none. England, Sri Lanka, Australia, South Africa, Bangladesh, West Indies. Where do you look? Where do you hide? There's nowhere to hide. If Bangladesh could have got over the line against Sri Lanka, they haven't. And now they'll be saying no points. Who do we have left to play? England, Australia, South Africa, West Indies. Good luck. All it means is it's going to be a very, very competitive group to come out of, to try and make it to the semi-finals. Top two get to the semi-final against the top two from India's group. Two of the teams from the earlier group we talked about, India's group, will be playing tomorrow. It's a single header. And let's just quickly look ahead to that game. It's going to be Afghanistan taking on Scotland. Again, Scotland, a surprise addition to this particular group because they were not expected to be number one in the group. We would have scheduled Scotland in the other group. They should have been Afghanistan, Bangladesh, technically, but it's not to be. It's Afghanistan, Scotland. We look ahead to that. Zaheer, I'll come to you first. For Afghanistan playing in these conditions, you'd reckon they'll have to turn to their talisman, as always, a Rashid Khan, a Mohammad Nabi, and they've had the right kind of warm-up.
And they'll be very happy to play in Sharjah. There's no doubt about it. You have three big spinners, and that basically just controls their game. You have the firepower at the top in Zizai. He's known to play those big shots, so that they'll be relying on. But I think for them to win games, you've seen that the three spinners, which is 12 overs of spin, is going to be very, very crucial. And these are top quality spinners. They've been putting everyone, all the best of the batters, under pressure. So yeah, you can't really discount Afghanistan in this group for sure. And then tomorrow, I'm sure they will be in with favorite stag in that game for sure when they play against Scotland.
Huge favourites. I mean, that's an embarrassment of riches to have with their spinners, the experience of a Naveen ul Haq who's been going around the world right now, and of course, as Zaheer mentioned, Gurbaz, to add to even a Hazratullah Zazai with their firepower. DK?
Oh, yes, there is no doubt. Afghanistan is a team to obviously watch out for, not only because of the way they bowl, but I also feel they're one of those, a little bit like West Indies in the sense they're a bit of a hit or miss when it comes to batting. They bat very attackingly. Zazai, Najibullah Zadran, Ahmed Shahzad, and Ramanullah Gurbaz. All these four batters have the ability to bat at very high strike rates. So obviously it makes them a good team. But again, it depends on which side of the bed they wake up on.
Fair point. Fair point. We saw the other side of West Indies. It was probably not left or right. They just got out from under the bed, I think, the other day. But I think DK makes a fair point about that. And Scotland will probably be aware of that because they're an associate nation, much more solid side, much more settled, a bit like a county side turning up here. So they'll be aware first thing of the explosiveness of Afghanistan and also the fact that they could collapse, perhaps.
Yes, the challenge for them is going to be how they face the Afghani spinners. So that is something which will be interesting to see. So we've seen that the European teams usually they're good with the seam bowling, swing bowling, and they have a fair bit of idea to go on about it. So Scotland again has got enough experience with their playing with their players playing in different. Uh, Circuit as well, like the counties and stuff like that. So yeah, so from that point of view, we'll have to see they've beaten Bangladesh. So they are definitely will be fancying their chances. But we'll be interested to see how they flare up to the challenge of the trio of spin attack.
Yeah, that certainly will be. I think that will be the challenge. They've got all their pace pair bowlers who've done well in Oman, in Brad Wheel, Safian Sharif, Josh Davy. But TK, they're adapting to Sharjah is probably going to be the key playing against Afghanistan.
Definitely. I think Scotland has been around for some time now. Among the associate nations, they've been playing the longest in terms of the volume of cricket they've played as well. And from the time they've started, they've been around. They're a bit like New Zealand in the sense that they don't have big fancy names or, extraordinary superstars, so to say, but they play tight cricket and they know how to win a game among the associate nations. But when you come to Sharjah and play against Afghanistan with a couple of gun spinners, it's a completely different kettle of tea. So, it's going to be very interesting to see how they've done. Credit to them for beating Bangladesh from the position they were in. They were 43 for 6. From there to find a way to score 140 and then go on to win the game. Credit to them. As I said, they are fighters. It's there in their nature. It's there in their blood to fight. So we got to wait and watch. But cricket is a game of skill, so they got to find a way to counter the spinners. I'm sure they'll do a decent job against the fast bowlers. They'll definitely field well. They'll be batting very steady, but the key matchups is going to be how they're going to play all those three spinners.
Yeah, you got to think of the Bravehearts of Scotland. Scotland Bravehearts coming up against Afghanistan. It's going to be a very, very good matchup indeed for all the Scottish fans out there. But yeah, the batsmen, Zaheer, they will really need to come to the party. Someone like a George Munsey, who's very, very aggressive, a Kyle Kutzer, he's been around forever, it seems. But I don't think they've quite come up against this kind of a trio of spinners. So that's what they'll have to do. And Chris Greaves was what
It's
collecting packages for FedEx the other day, picked up, and he's suddenly in a World Cup.
Well, with associate nations, GB, it's always about the experience, isn't it? And you got to just level up all the time and evolve as a team, as cricketers. So I think but it doesn't matter how the match goes or how the result goes. For them, it's about going out there and adding new things, learning new things. That's how you're going to evolve. You have a whole lot of qualifier rounds to play before you actually get to the stage, right? So I think the getting to this stage is something which is very important. If you create upsets here or win matches, that's just gonna add to what work you've been doing. So I mean, that's the way I see it, and I get very excited every time I see an upset. You've seen how Afghanistan has evolved. You've seen how Bangladesh has evolved over the years. So I think there's always going to be a great story, and that there are always going to be names which we may not think of, but once they make that impact at this level, you suddenly start talking about it, and then you have their work cut out in terms of playing different franchise cricket as well. You've seen so many cricketers now. You're not limited to a geographical location. It's about just showcasing your talent, and there are people to spot the talent and give opportunities.
Yeah. About a year and a half ago, I was in Canada in their league, and suddenly this chap called George Munsey came and started hitting it to all parts of Toronto City. And that's when we saw he sort of announced himself in. He went to the Scottish national side, and he will be in action. But never mind all those questions and answers. The one that has not been answered yet. Pakistan have answered the questions, so have Sri Lanka. But have all of you answered Joy's question? Let's find out. This was the question we asked earlier. Why do most people remember the last ball of Sachin's sixth over from the first time India and Pakistan played a World Cup match? It's got a. Zahid, any guesses whatsoever? First time India and Pakistan played a World Cup match?
Has to be 92. I was trying to calculate like that, and then I was thinking, oh, till 92, Pakistan and India had not played, so there was quite a long time since World Cup started. So that was the interesting one. Maybe it was the incident between Kiran More and Javed Miandad. Was that the case?
Aha! Well done. The Javed Miandad hopping incident where he imitated Kiran More jumping up and down behind the stumps. Well done. 100 points to Zaheer Khan. Oh, lovely. DK, did you have any idea about this one?
No, no.
Okay, I was just bringing you in as a wicket keeper, just to see if since it was all about the great Kiran More, who was such a character himself, and Javed Miandad, well, another character. That's one of the great moments of India-Pakistan cricket that we remember. One of the more amusing moments. And let's see who spotted this one before everyone else did. And it is our usual suspect, Tanmoy Chakraborty. This time we will give 50 points to Zaheer Khan, 50 points to Tanmoy. We will split the prize evenly, 50-50. Sorry, TC, you've got to share it with Zach this time around, because I think very well done on spotting that from 1992, the first coloured clothing World Cup, the first India-Pakistan match. Well, it's been a long day. It's been plenty of assessment, plenty of disappointment for Indian fans, but nonetheless, it's just the first game and lots of optimism that Dinesh Karthik and Zaheer Khan have said that should lie ahead for Team India. Gentlemen, long Sunday. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
And for all of you out there, thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you soon. It's going to be a single header after this long Sunday. We'll be back with plenty more on Cricbuzz Live.
Good night, Zach.